Let's talk about risking 5 or 10% per trade in a way that has math behind it. So I just put up another video about how risking 1% is the standard advice. And I'm not going to say it's not correct, but most of the guys who made it huge were not risking 1%. They're risking significantly more. So we're going to talk about how to figure out what you can risk and how you could risk much more to meet your personal goals. So just you can watch the other video, but there's lots of people who risk more than 1% and made it to the top. And so many, so many. But this isn't about that. You could watch that video. This video, we're just going to get into the math. Okay. So what I have here is a risk of ruin calculator. And you can find this by just Googling a risk of ruin calculator. And it's going to help you calculate drawdowns. But the idea is that you cannot lose 100%, and you want to know what the worst sort of drawdown that you think you can handle is, you can come back from is, and you need to know your trading stats. So a problem that a lot of you are going to have is you don't know your trading stats, or you know your trading stats and you're losing. So if you're losing, you need to not trade and you need to develop a new system and to get winning stats. Okay? Or you yeah, you need to know your stats. If you don't know your stats, you cannot calculate your risk, right? So you get your stats if you don't have them by going into your exchange or your broker, going through the tedious work. So let's take a look. Since the end of February, I want to start though since March 8th, because this is when I started doing what I'm doing. So what are my stats? Okay, 42% win percentage with a 1.8 RR. My back testing, by the way, let's also exit out of these and go to where we are. My back testing is 55% with a 2R. So my live testing doesn't match up with my back testing. That's okay. I think it's going to catch up later. They're going to converge, and my win percentages, I still have positive expectancy here. So we also need to know our number of trades. So I have 40 trades in a little less than a month. Okay, so let's start off with my actual stats. Okay, so what is my win percentage? We're going to put it in here. Is 43%. And my average profit is 1.8. And 40 trades in a month, I'm going to take 500 trades in a year. Let's say I really don't even want to draw down 20%. I'm going to risk 1% per trade. What am I going to learn? So I'm going to learn that my odds of a 20% drawdown are less than 1%. The odds that I go from a drawdown 20% before being in profit. The odds that I have a 20% drawdown along the way is 12%. But that's even risking 1% and being very conservative. Let's see what it is with risking 2%. 2%, there's a 90% chance that somewhere along the year I'm going to have a 20% drawdown, which I'm okay with. But there's only a 9% risk that I lose 20% from the start. So let's even see what happens if we put it at 3%. Risk 3%. If I risk 3%, I'm basically 100% to have a 20% drawdown, which I'm okay with, but a 21% chance to have a 20% drawdown before I'm profitable. So, but let's say that I'm more aggressive and that I'm okay with a 40% drawdown. Because here's the thing, like with the 40% drawdown, you don't lose the game. It sucks, but you don't lose, right? It's not dead till you're not dead till you're dead. So with my average stats, even if I risk 3%, the odds that I draw down 40% from the start is only 3%, 1 in 30. And There's a 40% chance that I would have a 40% drawdown during the year. Let's see what happens when I risk 4%. So 4%, I have 1 out of 10 times I'm going to draw down 40% from starting equity. 1 out of 9, 8.6 times, or 8.6 out of 10 times. 80% of the time, most years, 80% of the years, I'm going to have a 40% drawdown somewhere in there. Though, let's take a look and see if this would be worth it. So say I'm risking 4% per trade. What is my expectancy? How do you calculate expectancy? Well, I have a, what is it, 43% win rate. Oh, I need to put these back. This back. Okay, how do I calculate that? I have a 43% win rate times 1.8. Okay, then I'm going to subtract from that 1R times 0.57. So my expectancy per trade is 0.2. Okay, so if I put on a trade, I'm expecting to make 0.2 of what I risk. So if I put on $1,000, I expect to make $200 on average. The larger the sample size, the better. But if I'm taking 500 trades in a year, now if I'm risking 4%, my expectancy is actually 0.816. So if I risk 1,000, I expect to make 800. Or sorry, if I risk 4,000, I expect to make, what am I saying here? No, my expectancy is the same, but this is the expected R return, right? So another way to look at this is if what I expect to make on a trade is going to be 3.096. But what I expect to lose on a trade is 0.57 times 4. So I'm gonna lose, this is now my expectancy per trade is 0.816. Okay? Now I can multiply that by 500, and this is simple, no compounding. My expectation is to make 400 R in a year. Or 400, I guess it'd be 400%, right? Is what it is. Yeah, I would expect to make 400%. If I keep my stats the same and I risk 4%, I expect to make 400% a year. And this isn't I hope, this is what the statistics are telling me. Now, I could turn $100,000 initial stake into it's 400 R, no, 400%. How does that work? 1%, 100%, 400%. So make an additional $400,000. Do I care that at some point it's going to go from 200 back to 120 on the way up? Hey dog, chill out. Come here, dog. Come here, dog. Okay. So this gives you an idea of like I could risk 1% and like there's no chance of almost having any kind of real drawdown. And there's just no chance of having any kind of real drawdown. But the problem is, no, I would make, what would I make in a year? Still 100%, pretty fucking good. So I'm on track to make 100% in a year, less than 1%. A dog just, okay, dog, chill out, dog. Let me close the door, because, stop, 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 stop. Nope. Okay, now let's improve my stats a little bit. Say that I improve over the year, and I go to 50% win rate with 2 RR. Okay, so same practice. Say I don't want a 40% drawdown. I risk 2%, it's not even gonna happen. I risk 3%, it's not even gonna happen. I risk 4%, It's not gonna happen. I can risk 5%, 50% chance I'll have a 40% drawdown, but 1% chance that I have 40%, 1 out of 100 times will I draw down 40%. But even if I draw down 40% from the initial balance, the game's not over. I just recovered from that. So, let's look at what our stats would be here. Okay, say that I actually have stats like this, and say I risk 1%, 250% a year. Now say that I risk 5%. This is simple R, 1,250 R a year. So if I'm risking a percent, yeah, it's crazy. 10x my account if I'm doing that. So you need to know your stats though. Like if you're losing, say you have a 33% win rate and a 1.5 RR, like you're just gonna go to zero, right? No matter what happens. Um, like you're gonna go straight down. So you need to know your stats. You need to know your edge. But if you know your stats and you know your edge and you have an edge, you're mathematically potentially safe to risk a lot. Potentially a lot. Let's say your stats are like crazy good, like 75% with the 1.7 R, right? You could let's see what happens if you risk even 10%. You're safe to risk 10%. That's crazy. Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, get your stats good, know your stats, and then figure out what kind of drawdown you're willing to tolerate. And yeah, let it play out. So I hope that changed your thinking on how much to risk. Again, I'm not telling you to risk more than 1%. If you have negative edge, don't risk anything. If you don't know your edge, find out your edge. If you find out that you have expectancy, figure out how much you're willing to tolerate drawdown, and then develop a risk plan around that, depending on how many trades you take a year. Okay? All right, much love and talking to you soon. Peace.